Welcome back. I hope everybody had a good New Year's and are ready for 2020. Not holding back. Whole decade. No mercy. Alright, I was gonna start the year with a rant and just a random pretty drawing, but then something possessed me to go through my downloaded documents on my phone, and I remembered that I had this, and now we're here because, as I like to say, as of 20 minutes ago, the greater good first and then self-indulgence later. Alright, as I've said, if you've been with this channel for a while, know me in person, or even came here from my TikTok, you have seen this yellow line going across the funding for the natural disaster relief. And the first What Do You Mean video I put out with this shocking discovery was in March 2019. It's warped to think that was last year, but that's why you never give up, keep looking for different ways, and eventually you'll be heard. Oh, either way, I'm not going to stop until everybody knows and it's changed. Quick side note, my new favourite problem is when people comment or say that's wrong in response to me showing them the federal budget. It's like, what do you mean wrong? Like, if you mean morally wrong, yeah, that's right, I agree. But if you're suggesting in any way that the information I'm showing you is incorrect or wrong, then, my friend, you are indeed incorrect and wrong. Gosh, I love the English language. Now, in previous videos, like Australia Burns Part 2, I go through the basic principles of the DRFA, but this video is gonna be solely for going through it, because if this is how people are meant to be able to get funds and relief for recovery after these, then I figure it's best to have that information as easy to get and track down and understand as possible, and to show everyone how ridiculous and mind-blowing this shit is, especially with the big flamey backdrop that we have. One more thing I'd like to add before we get started is a few weeks ago, I did a video that required me to ask everyone I know to keep an eye out when they go to the shops for red tape. And I went through the government's guide to cutting red tape. Now, for a group of people, a political party that seems to have made that one of their core reasons for being in government altogether, you'd think you could at least be consistent with it, with the deregulation and the getting rid of the paperwork and making it easier for people and businesses to get what they need. Apparently that's only for if you want to go rip up someone's land or dump something in a waterway. When it comes to rebuilding your home after a bushfire, sorry, we found 50 new hoops you need to jump through. Alright, Australians, I really recommend you sit down for this. Let's go through the disaster recovery funding arrangement. Now see, already there you have to take note of the name of it, because that already is a big giveaway, and this should probably explain why even the title of it is a giveaway. Disaster Recovery Funding Arrangement 2018 Terms and Conditions by the Honourable Angus Taylor, Minister for Law Enforcement and Cyber Security. I almost feel like I could already be like, open and shut case. Your Honour, what do you mean? For anybody that's new here, Angus Taylor is now our Energy and Emissions Reduction Minister, and he has also brought us the wonderful times of Australian Watergate, where he got $80 million to the Cayman Islands through Eastern Australian irrigation, because, you know, water's not a big deal here or anything, and Grassgate, where he just wanted to fuck up some grass for his jam land or some nonsense. And in the true spirit of modern politics, the thing that got him, the thing that at least caused the New South Wales police and now the AFP to investigate him, sending false numbers in a letter to the Mayor of Sydney just to talk some smack. Fantastic. Great move. Well done, Angus. Now, that's more than a red flag. Angus Taylor cooking this up, this is like a huge red neon sign with a big arrow pointing, saying, something's wrong, something's up here, what do you mean? Alright, and now, here in the definitions and interpretations, where it's got eligible disaster, which is littered throughout this entire thing, that's probably the main thing they reference to, and this pretty much sums up why he, when he was that minister, was in charge of this. An eligible disaster is a natural disaster or terrorist act. So you see what they did there? They try to lump in all natural disasters and terrorist attacks into the one thing and then make law enforcement and cybersecurity deal with it. Like I've said previously in other videos, nobody is turning around and saying fires are going to stop, cyclones are going to stop, floods are going to stop. You can believe in climate change or not. No one's saying that natural disasters are just going to stop altogether. So to hinder recovery for natural disasters at all is a bit disturbing, but to do it when we've been told that they're all going to get worse is just, I don't even know the word for it. I kind of am leaning near evil, but either way, definitely should be criminal. Oh, and to complete my list, bushfire, earthquake, flood, storm, cyclone, storm surge, landslide, tsunami, meteorite strike, or tornado. Yep, I'm glad that this was all going to be dealt with by the Minister of Law Enforcement and Cybersecurity. Oh, I'm going to love it. Needy individual. An individual who is in urgent and genuine need of financial assistance. Oh. Alright, I'll whiz through most of the stuff that you, the citizen, can't do much about and don't have much say in, and is just mainly meant to be communications between the state government and Commonwealth. But I will stop to highlight some primo bits and stop and go through things that are relevant to us, the people. Now, what all of this is red tape. This is some really warped red tape. Like, I can't believe they got like a terrorist attack and all natural disasters and just taped them together. What's wrong with these people? And to get Angus Taylor to do it, we are in big trouble, my friends. Alright, it really sucks that I'm the person that says this out loud, especially considering what's going on in Australia right now, because these basic principles for assistance, the principles for assistance to states, are more savage than the last ones. Alright, hold on to your hats. In carrying out or contributing to the costs of eligible measures, the states must act consistently with the principles that recovery is a shared responsibility for individuals, households, businesses, and communities, as well as for governments where access to capital or appropriate strategies for natural disaster mitigation are considered. What? Its assistance is not to supplement or operate as a disincentive for self-help by way of either access to capital or appropriate strategies for natural disaster mitigation. The assistance is designed to achieve an effective allocation of resources and those affected in the same way by the same eligible disasters should receive the same assistance within the limitations of these arrangements. How much does it suck hearing that? And I will point out that they want to keep saying that the individual has some role in natural disaster mitigation, or communities have a big role in natural disaster mitigation. You know who has a big role in natural disaster mitigation? Oh, well, I would say our hopefully soon former Minister of Energy and Emissions Reduction, and unfortunately for us Australians, our leader, that guy who walked into the house holding a lump of coal. You'd think they might have a role in natural disaster mitigation. So understandably, you can see why a lot of Australians are rightfully furious, afraid, and hate Scott Morrison. Alright, here is the relief and recovery assistance measures, and I'll only go through category A measures because they are the ones for individuals. States have 24 months from the end of the financial year in which the relevant eligible disaster occurred to incur state expenditure for category A measures. A category A measure is one or more of the following forms of emergency assistance for individuals. A. Emergency food, clothing, or temporary accommodation. B. Repair or replacement of essential items of furniture and personal effects. C. Essential repairs to housing, including temporary repairs and repairs necessary to restore housing to a habitable condition. D. Demolition or rebuilding to restore housing to a habitable condition. E. Removal of debris from residential properties to make them safe and habitable. F. Extraordinary counter-disaster operations for the benefit of an affected individual. G. Personal and financial counselling. H. The employment of a community recovery officer, which it goes on to then say a community recovery officer under clause 422H is only to be employed by a state in regards to an eligible disaster when the state is providing emergency assistance for individuals under clause 4221A, B and C. So emergency food, repairs and replacements to your furniture and personal effects, and making your house habitable again. Where the state is providing emergency assistance for individuals under clauses 422A, B and C above in regard to an eligible disaster, the state may write to the minister seeking approval for the employment of additional community recovery officers beyond the one activated under clause 422H. The state must demonstrate that the nature, scale and circumstances of the eligible disaster, including the number of impacted local governments, areas, known fatalities and injuries of individuals, private properties and or businesses destroyed or damaged, warrant the employment of an additional community recovery officer. What is that shit? I love it if this makes it to people that have dealt with fire recovery, flood recovery, any natural disaster recovery in Australia. If you could comment with some feedback on how it's been done before, the efficiency of then, what you think of this now, because my gut first sunk when I saw the number 0 where it said natural disaster relief funding, and then when I continued on to read that it's this new agreement, and then go on to find out that it's by Angus Taylor, and they've taped together terrorist attacks and natural disasters from the party that rails against red tape so hard to come through to where we need help the most to just tape it up. Something next level. Should just show that when big business says jump, they'll all say how high, but when we say help, we're on fucking fire, the best we're gonna get is a forced handshake and backs turned on us. Alright, this is one of the last things I want to highlight out of all this, because I want to try and keep this video some sort of short, and of course the links will be below so you can read through yourself. Alright, what I want to quickly show you is conditions for Commonwealth assistance. When a natural disaster occurs and the relevant state knows or expects the natural disaster to be an eligible disaster, the state must notify the department of the fact within 3 months. States may also write to the minister seeking advice on whether the minister considers the event to be a terrorist attack for the purpose of these arrangements. Never would I have dreamed that I'll be reading something that has one line about natural disasters and the next line is about a terrorist attack. Oh well, I guess the fucksticks out there that are saying that no, climate change isn't a factor in this, all the fires have been set by people. Aren't you glad that terrorist attacks and natural disasters are just dealt with by the same people now? Jeez. Oh, and going back to the forced handshake. Public acknowledgement of Commonwealth assistance. The announcement of an eligible measure or eligible measures must be through a joint media release or other joint announcements unless otherwise agreed by the Commonwealth. That sounds about right. If you do manage to get us to help you, you better make sure everybody knows that we helped you. And this just dawned on me during the process of making this. Angus Taylor is no longer our Minister of Law Enforcement and Cybersecurity. I don't think there is a Minister of Law Enforcement and Cybersecurity anymore. I'm pretty sure all of that now falls under the Home Affairs Department. So this is now Peter Potato Eyes Dutton's problem. Like it couldn't get any worse. Yeah, it even has on the header of the screenshot of the first title I showed when I found this disaster recovery funding arrangement. It has the Department of Home Affairs there. The department where we've put like Border Protection and Australian Federal Police. Alright, let's do a quick recap. See, if they just put like 70 million, 100 million, any number on the budget there instead of 0, my eye wouldn't have been drawn to it. I wouldn't have been shocked when I followed it through to see what it was for, and it was natural disasters. Because then I wouldn't have followed it up, wouldn't have discovered that one of the most corrupt ministers we ever had cooked up an arrangement for the Commonwealth and states to have to deal with to get people funding and relief for natural disasters. And here in Australia, we have put the people to deal with natural disasters with the same people that are supposedly protecting our borders and investigating cybercrime. Not the Department for the Environment. No, that would make too much sense, wouldn't it? Better just make it another extremely important thing that the frickin' potato is in charge of. So the party that is extremely anti-red tape got the Minister of the Cayman Islands to get some red tape and tape together natural disasters and terrorist attacks so that the Minister of Cops is now in charge of it. All under the watchful eye of Prime Minister Scotty from Marketing. Oh, and I'm going to take this moment to say SBS, ABC, 7, 9, 10, anyone, go tell Australia about this, please. Oh, and I just want to quote one more thing from this and I'll wrap it up. From Clause 422B, repair or replacement of essential items of furniture and personal effects. The intent of the measure, this measure is intended to help individuals whose homes have been directly affected by an eligible disaster to maintain a basic standard of living by assisting with the replacement of essential household items. This measure is only intended for individuals who have no means of funding the replacement of basic essential household items themselves. As such, states may wish to apply appropriate eligibility criteria, including means and or asset testing to determine whether this assistance should be provided. Wow, what a way to look out for the Australian people. But I guess at least they're willing to help out people that can't pay for it themselves. I guess I should be grateful for that. But just picture, your house is completely destroyed by a bushfire. So then your means tested or have your assets tested. Sorry, we're not going to help you. Help yourself. Go sell whatever else you own to rebuild what was destroyed because, you know, yada yada, natural disaster mitigation. The nerve! Alright, we'll just fly through the rest of this red tape because it is just word salady bullshit. And I want to end this video by showing you all what it looks like to shoot yourself in the foot. Because you see, I spend a decent amount of my time going through the budget because when I bring receipts, I fucking bring receipts. Alright, I looked back at the last decade of Australian federal budgets and look what I noticed. See this from 2010-11? Notice what used to be part of it? Yes, climate change and energy efficiency back in the times of a Labour government. Now, let's fast forward a couple of years. I believe this is around the time people thought it was a good idea to elect Tony Onion-Eating Abbott, and look at some of the changes they decided to make. This is what we had, and that's what they changed it to. Bye-bye climate change. And then today's. Going through the entire thing. You can't find the word climate in there at all. But what you can find is natural disaster relief with the funding going down to zero. What can I say? This is not a drill. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and try to show this to as many Australians as possible, please. I would not trust this DRFA as far as I could throw it.